So you mentioned a shootout, and a lot of us are kind of in that same boat right now that we think that even though that the Vikings have a really good defense, for whatever reason, the Lions are able to put up a considerable amount of points.
I know the reason.
Okay, what's the reason?
The reason is because I hesitated to say this yesterday on the Viking show, but like it's actually what I believe. I think Ben Johnson's the one dude who has figured out Flores. The two keys to figuring out Flores is Flores, he does the highest preponderance of the heavy blitzes in the NFL, whether that's zero blitz or one beneath that in terms of sending the waves of numbers. And so he's number one at that, and then number one at dropping 8, right? And so it's like this mad scientist crazy dichotomy where you're either being hyper aggressive or you're dropping everyone back and flooding the coverage zones. And the beauty of it is you have the movable chess piece in Metellus, so he never gives the tell of what they're doing. He'll move all over the place. And then you have the interchangeable versatile parts, Cam Bynum. You have these guys that can play different positions. So you can run them back. You can give a different look pre-snap and then have everyone, sort of scatter out. You can simulate pressure, and then all of a sudden everyone's scattering back and it's an 8-man drop and this sort of stuff. The key to it, to beating it, it's number one, getting a beat on, is this one of the times where they're going to be super aggressive, or is this one of the times they're dropping? It's hard to get a beat on it because they do a really good job disguising. It seems like Ben Johnson has a better beat on that of being able to predict which way are they going on this one than other dudes. And then the other one, the specific plays of how you take advantage for it, you have to get it right in the middle. Right. Especially when they're sending the waves of heat, the ball needs to be out immediately. And on those plays, you could go back in the numbers on this, look at the tape, the dagger routes to Amon-Ra St. Brown. They're really quick. We're in shotgun. We get that snap, 1-2 foot in the dirt, and it's right on the hands to Amon-Ra St. Brown, 5, 6, 7 yards, right down Main Street. Right. I mean, because that is where are the numbers vacating to send all that heat? It's from the linebacking core. So all of a sudden, the middle of the field is open. If you can just get that thing right away, the pass rush doesn't have the opportunity to get there, especially against the NFL's best offensive line. And then you get that ball over, and all of a sudden, we don't have coverage resources back there, right? And so that's something that in this game, Flores needs to figure that out. Of like, I still want to stay doing some of the same stuff I'm doing, but we have to address the Amon-Ra St. Brown wide open 5, 6, 7 yards down the field, right there with open field in front of him. That we can't. The Vikings cannot continue to give the Lions that whenever they want when they're sending that heat.
I think it's amazing, as a fan and somebody that understands football as you do, you just depicted, what just went down in that first meeting between us this season. And it's funny, I just spoke about it again this morning. I said the same exact thing that you just did, that the best way to beat this defense is the quick hitters, right? Everything over the middle, it's screens, it's 1, 2, 3 steps, it's out, it's, sitting in shotgun, you're still getting the ball out quick. Here's a stat for you. So the Vikings defense blitzed Jared Goff on 55.2% of his dropbacks in week 7, which is the highest blitz rate that Jared Goff faced in a game this season, at that point of the season anyway. And Goff targeted Amon-Ra St. Brown, to your point, on half of those routes that were run, 7 of 14 against the blitz, and completed all 7 passes for 105 yards and a touchdown. So to your point, Amon-Ra St. Brown lives, eats, and breathes within this blitz style of defense that you guys run. And Jared Goff, one of the best quarterbacks against the blitz. So this is a key. So can Flores, can they change their identity in a matter of a week or two and try to do something to change up, the scheme? I don't know. I don't know if it can be done. And to the point, I was going to make earlier about scoring points. I think the Lions put the most points on the Vikings this season. That was only 2 more points than the Vikings in that game. But the Lions put up 31, which is the most points the Vikings have let up, and then the Rams put 30. So in this game, we're talking about a shootout. Just how many points do you think that these two teams are going to put up this weekend?
Well, I thought it was funny that the Vegas total that they dropped was 10 points higher on this game than any other game on the board, and totally justifiable because I would go over it. Like, I think we are headed for a wild shootout. That's just what I think. Again, on the Viking side, that is what you have to go towards. That's your path to victory here. And I think the Lions are happy to play along here. You're playing on the fast track. The Lions have, we're on defense. You have the injuries to the pass rushers, and then your cornerbacks is the team weakness. And the Lions, we know that they can put up points on the Vikings. So I just think that's where it's going. As far as like, I would go over that. As far as like a final score prediction, I'm going to say, I'll say I'll say 35-32. And I'm, again, pessimistic Vikings fan, been hurt over and over again. So if any Viking fan out there watching this, you can look at this as a reverse jinx if you like, but I'll say 35-32 Lions.
Ooh, reverse psychology. I love it. So question from the chat. Peter Van Larhoven wants to know, do you think that the Vikings have anyone to match up with JMO this weekend?
Not in terms of like, I wouldn't put any of the Vikings cornerbacks in a foot race with that guy. They're all going to get dusted, right? He would dust Gilmore. He would dust Griffin. He would dust all of them. So not in terms of one-on-one, but yeah, the down the field, attempting to take that away so he doesn't get as explosive. It's another thing that goes into the thing of like, we must take away those free completions to Abadra. They're literally free. I can't tell you, the last game, I was screaming at my television because every time you saw that, and it's like, okay, I think that this is going to be a blitz. It's like I could point on the screen. This is where Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to catch the ball, because every single time it was just like, it's the hot route, right? Like, yep. Okay, 7 or more are coming, so this is what we're doing. We're throwing it to him right over the middle. So it's like, that, how do you address that? And then also, how do you keep a dude back? Because that's really what you have to do on the side of the field that Williams is on. You need over the top help there, or you can get taken for an explosive play at any time. So yeah, I mean, in terms of one-on-one coverage down the field, no, I wouldn't trust any of the Vikings dudes with that. But the saving grace for this Vikings defense is they are incredible in their safety room, and they're super duper deep. And all those guys are good in coverage. You have the moving chess piece in Metellus. You have the former collegiate boundary cornerback in Cam Bynum. Cam Bynum, the guy that choreographs all these ridiculous dances and stuff that the Vikings do after the turnovers and celebrations. And then obviously you have Harry the Hitman, who's, been doing this longer than, they've been doing this forever. So yeah, that's the saving grace. And the whole thing with Jameson Williams and depriving him of those explosive plays, you have to make sure you don't have a back end miscommunication, mistake back there, and a coverage breakdown. It's very important that you take that away. So
it seems like we're both teams are kind of in a similar situation here. So, we have an explosive offense with multiple weapons. Jahmyr Gibbs is, starting to show how good he is out of the backfield and catching passes. But Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams, are two guys that are not only explosive, but Amon-Ra doesn't drop balls, and JMO, you give him an inch, he takes a mile. And I feel like both teams are kind of in the same situation. If you're going to try to eliminate Amon-Ra's ability in this game, that's going to open up, plays for Jameson Williams. It's going to open up plays for, Jahmyr Gibbs. So the Lions are just as deep offensively. So let's switch to the defensive side of the football. Are there any, or your Viking side of the football, are there any concerns this weekend, one, injury-wise, or, for the Vikings offensive line to perform against the Lions? I'll call it a pass rush. The Lions are pretty beat up, right? We've been missing multiple starters since week 6 of this season, and this is one of the worst weeks. We might get Alex Anzalone back. We'll see what happens. But is there any concerns right now for the Vikings, one, with injuries, and two, with their offensive line to be able to perform this weekend against the Detroit Lions pass rush?
Not on that side of the ball. My concerns are all on the side where Jared Goff is back there surveying and throwing. And Gibbs running around and Amon-Ra. I can see myself screaming at the television again on Sunday night. Anyway, that's going to be a charged up atmosphere. But no, when the Vikings had the ball, I really don't, because I think that they have the path to points, and they're going to hold up against what remains of the Lions pass rush, I think, up front. And then you're going to take advantage of the Lions cornerbacks. And it just becomes, what is the constitution of where those coverage resources go, right? Are they going to, with Jefferson, is it going to be lighter and you're cool getting lit up by him? Or is it, now we're going to try to take away Jefferson, but everyone else is, every other play. But yeah, no, the Vikings are going to put up points here.
So now the question that everyone really wants to know, because this has been a hot topic this week. Kirby Joseph gets snubbed from the Pro Bowl. He's rated as the best safety in the league right now. He's got 9 interceptions. He's right there neck and neck with McKinney. For whatever reason, he gets left off the final ballot because the coaches and the players didn't vote for him. Now, he took out TJ Hawkinson, I forget what week it was last year, and a lot came out that he was a dirty player, partly because of what happened with Matthew Stafford. He's running down and telling, Kirby he's dirty when the same style of play happened with Higbee. What is your thought on Kirby Joseph? And have you heard what TJ Hawkinson came out and said this last April about Kirby that may have, or at least tried to put some of this to rest?
What did Hawk say in April? In April, I'm in my draft bunker, so I might have missed that one, grinding my tape.
So in a nutshell, because I don't have it pulled up in front of me, basically what he said is Kirby he doesn't think is dirty, that he doesn't believe that Kirby intentionally tried to hurt him at all. And when you look at the tackle, right, you know, when you watch things in slow motion, it looks terrible. But when you actually look at where Kirby hit him, it was shoulder to thigh. It was the fact that, at least from what I watched, it was Hawkinson's foot, his cleat, that got stuck in the turf. And then, of course, we've seen those injuries time and time again. Your knee doesn't bend the other way. So anyway, Hawk doesn't feel like he was dirty. He doesn't think that he did it intentionally, but he said that this April. And it still seems like there's still some fans, you know, flaming the flame here that Kirby's just dirty, and it has now removed them from the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, the Twins, we used to have I used to be a baseball fan. We used to have this catcher. His name was AJ Pierzynski, and everyone in Minnesota loved him, and every other fan base and every other team hated him. He was like the guy who was like jawing with the batter, you know, when the pitch was coming, and he was like the antagonizer. Kirby Joseph, no different. Like if Kirby Joseph is on the Vikings, I feel like he'd be one of my favorite players. Right. Like, and I would ride and die for him. And like at Illinois, I loved that kid's game. And like, do I think it was a dirty hit on Hawkins? And I mean, Vikings fans aren't going to like me saying this, but no, I really don't. That Kirby Joseph plays super duper hard. You know, it's going to put you in some of these situations. Football's a violent sport.